In this video, we're going to take a look at a setting called accent routing. Now, accent routing isn't something that you've probably seen in a lot of sequencers, but especially here in Voltage Modular, it can be particularly useful. We'll look at an example of that later, but let me show you what it is first. So here we are looking at a blank copy of our sequencer. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to route the step and the accent out jack into the oscilloscope. I'll change this so that we can see it, and then I'm just going to knock together a quick pattern here that is 4 steps. Now, no surprise, if you've gone through the previous videos, you should have recognized that what's going to happen here is every time we encounter a step, it'll be output on the step jack, and every time we encounter an accent, it will be output on the accent jack. So in this case, the red line on the top of the scope is step, and the green line on the bottom of the scope is accent. Now, one of the things you might notice there is that the accent step, whenever it's encountered, it does not output on the step jack. There is a setting to change this, and it's a track setting. So down here on the bottom left, on the LCD, make sure that track is selected. If one of these other ones are selected, hit track. And you're going to want to go over 2 to the right, and you can see this one is called accent routing. There are 2 values. The default value is accent only, which is this behavior where accents only go to the accent jack. The other value is step plus accent. Now watch on the scope what happens here. You can see that every time the sequencer, I'm going to zoom in to make this easier to see. Every time the sequencer encounters an accent step, it sends the accent gate to both the accent jack and the step jack. And so you can see here that we're getting hits for every step that the sequencer encounters on the step, and we're only getting hits on the accent. Now there are a few cases where this arises that you might want to use this. Let me show you one of those now. I have replaced the scope with a kick drum module. In this case, this is a third-party module called Knock by Volt. I'm going to route the step jack into gate, but you notice down here there is no input jack for accent. Now take a listen to what happens here. As the sequence plays through, we should be hearing the kick drum hit on every single step. But you notice we're not. And the reason why we're not is because these accent steps do not output a gate to the step jack. You can see here that my accent routing is set to accent only. I'm going to change it to step plus accent. All right, so now we're getting a step on each simple step and accent step. We can address the fact that this module doesn't have an accent input by instead using our accent here as more of a control voltage. So in this case, let's route it here to Fury. So Fury is kind of like a distortion. And what we can do here, actually, I'll turn it up so you can hear it. This is Fury coming up. So what we can do is, because the step will fire all of the steps, we can use accent to turn Fury up. So I'm gonna patch here accent to Fury. We'll turn the modulation amount up, and let's give that a listen. Cool. So I'm hoping that you're seeing the idea here, which is when you encounter a module that does not have an accent input, what you can do is you can change accent routing to step plus accent, and then you can use the accent jack instead as a modulation source to cause some sequenced modulation to happen. Now, this one isn't a particularly great track. I'm gonna take out this accent, and it'll probably sound a little better now. Let's try something else here while I'm messing with it. That's hard to hear. That sounded pretty good. All right, so there's tons of ways to have fun with that. Try this out for yourself. Try it with different modules. Try it with not percussion modules. There's a lot of interesting ways to combine this, and have fun.